Are you struggling to find mental health clinicians to work for your group, practice, or agency? Tired of posting job ads for your open roles only to have no response? Or worse, have the wrong individual apply for the role? What if you had a partner who understood both the intricate requirements and career arc of a mental health clinician and how to recruit them more efficiently to work for your organization? Sparrow Search Services is a behavioral health focused recruiting firm that utilizes their staff expertise as practicing mental health clinicians to source and engage other mental health clinicians who may be open to making a career upgrade. Reach out to Sparrow today via their website, sparrowsearchservices.com, to see how they can help you. Mention keyword Joe in your message to receive $500 off your first placement. Again, that's sparrowsearchservices.com and use promo code Joe to get that discount. This is the Practice of the Practice podcast with Joe Sanok, session 921. I'm Joe Sanok, your host, and welcome to the Practice of the Practice podcast. Well, as many of you know or don't know, almost exactly a year ago at the time of this release in October of 2022, we had Killing It Camp in Cancun, Mexico. And while I was there, I got salmonella, which was treated when I got home. And then I left on a trip with my brother shortly thereafter. And that salmonella, I had to have emergency surgery, and then I had another surgery. And it has been a year of just physical stuff still happening as a result of that ridiculous little bug, wherever it came from, bug, germ. I'm not sure what the proper term is. But as a result, in August of 2023, when these recordings were done, and I was scheduled to be the one that did these recordings, my surgery knocked me out. I had some complications with it, and I had to, go on almost 2 weeks of bed rest, which drove me crazy. But it points to just how awesome of a team I have. The whole team in South Africa came together just so well. Jen, my assistant, just brought everything together. Kate, our new accountability coach, just rocked it out in Circle with all of our membership communities. And LaToya and Andrew filled in for me last minute to do these interviews. So you're going to hear a different voice, a different perspective doing these interviews for the next 4 episodes. So episode 918, 919, 920, and 921. Andrew and LaToya split those up. And I'm so thankful for the two of them to do this so that we can keep producing great shows for you. So without any further ado, here's the show.
Welcome back to the podcast. It's me again, LaToya. I am jumping in for Joe today. And I'm glad I jumped in on this. It's another one that I feel like I just get the privilege to have some great conversations with some great people. Today's guest is Miss Hally Brooke, and she's going to be talking about nutrition and the importance of when we change our eating habits and focus on nutrition, how that can also help improve behavior and decrease symptoms for some of our clients. And I'm excited because I was just telling Hally before we hit record, I went to go see a nutritionist recently. I see the difference in my movement, my mood. And I'm like, this is amazing. How can this help with our clients? So I got so many questions. So I want you all to listen and join me as I take advantage of this interview and ask Hally some great questions. Hally, welcome to the podcast.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so before we jump all the way in, just introduce yourself to the audience, tell them about you, where you're located, your business, all that.
Cool. So Hally Brooke, I'm in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Thank you, pandemic. We had an office in downtown Colorado Springs, and the pandemic happened, and it was me by myself. And I thought, this is silly. Why am I working by myself? So we closed our office, and then our practice exploded. So we're now all across the U.S. and international, which is pretty cool. And we have 2 sides of our practice. So we focus on nutrition and health coaching. So we have clients who come directly to us who are looking for support with gut health and adrenal fatigue are kind of the 2 big things that we work with clients. But then we also have a whole team of nationally board certified health coaches who we actually plug into medical practices, smaller medical practices who want to support their clients with behavior and lifestyle change. but maybe can't afford a full-time health coach or don't really totally understand what health coaching is, but know that their patients need more support kind of on the day-to-day lifestyle piece. So that's who I am and what I do.
Okay, so you're trained to be a nutritionist.
Yep, I'm a functional medicine certified nutrition counselor and then nationally board certified health and wellness coach. So I like to
Woo!
say, yeah, the same board that certifies brain surgeons certifies us, which I think is a
Okay.
big deal, especially in the health coaching industry that has a tendency to be kind of an unregulated industry. I think that's a
Hmm.
big deal.
I think it is too.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're trained, you're a nutritionist. Is that okay if I just call you that?
Yep, that's
Okay.
great.
And then you also kind of like a consulting piece where you place other nutritionists within doctors' offices.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. So let's even back up some. And I heard you say, okay, listen, we blew up during the pandemic. Why do you think that was? Like, that's when things just took off for you.
Yeah, I think two things happened. One, we were already pretty well set up to do virtual support, even though we had an in-office or an in-person office. And so that transition for us was really easy. But more than that, I think it's because during the pandemic, there was such a big wave of people going, oh, man, my immune system is not where I need it to be. And there is no drug on the planet that is going to get my immune system where it needs to be. I need to start taking better care of myself. And so there's this huge movement towards people going, oh man, I need to eat better. I need to sleep better. I need to reduce my stress. I need to move. So I think that was kind of the first wave. And then the second wave, as we came out of the pandemic, was people going, oh man, I just spent 2 years being really unhealthy and gained 15 pounds. And like, I don't remember how to live life. And so then we kind of got that second wave of people looking for help.
Okay, got it. So it was like, it was great timing for you, not the pandemic. I don't want to say it that way, but it was just it was good for business that people all of a sudden when the world slowed down really looked at, okay, I really have to take care of my body. One,
Mm-hmm.
because of the issues like COVID and all that, but then two, like it was just a check, like, listen, let me stay in the best health possible. And
Yep.
you were in the business of keeping people in good health.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. All
Exactly.
right. So yeah, that's something too, like I said, I went to the nutritionist, and it's amazing how a lot of stuff goes back to, like, gut health. So
Yes.
let's just talk about that where we think, "Okay, let me," because now what we do, we've been taught to go to the doctor about an issue. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying we bypass doctors, so I don't want anybody to hear that. But a lot of it goes back to gut health. Let's just talk about the importance of gut health.
Yes. Ugh, gut health is my favorite thing. I can talk about it all day long. So I'll just kind of start riffing and then please feel free to interrupt me. So gut health is that is where I nerd out about. Hippocrates, 2,500 years ago said all illness starts in our gut, and we now know with peer-reviewed, really high-quality research that that actually is true. Depression is linked to our gut. We create 95% of our serotonin in our gut, and so if our gut is messed up, we're going to have depression and anxiety. We now know that 75% of our immune system lives in our gut. So if we want to have a healthy functioning immune system, we need to have a healthy functioning gut. And then the other crazy piece is, so our gut epithelial lining, when I say gut, I'm usually talking about our large intestine. Obviously, there's that whole process from stomach, small intestine, large intestine, colon. But I'm usually talking about our large intestine and colon area. It's the epithelial lining of that is 1 cell thick, which is wild. So we hear kind of colloquially out there, leaky gut. A more medical term is intestinal permeability. But when you think about that cell lining being 1 cell thick, so the skin under your eyes or the skin on the inside of your elbow that's so thin and delicate, that's about 30 cells thick. Your gut epithelial lining, yeah, you guys can't see her face, but it was like, what? Um, our gut epithelial lining is 1 cell thick, and that is what is in charge of keeping all of our food particles, all of that bacteria, yeast, and fungus that lives in our gut, and our fecal matter, our poop, contained so that it doesn't leak out into our gut cavity, into our body cavity. And so it's pretty easy, as you could maybe understand, if something is 1 cell thick, to get a hole in that. And a lot of the things, the processed foods that we eat, pesticides, herbicides, not chewing your food properly, it's pretty easy to get holes in that gut. And so when you get holes in that gut lining, now you have poop particles and food particles and bacteria leaking out into your body cavity, which creates an immediate immune response because your immune system goes, oh no, there is a foreign invader that I need to deal with. And so now you're having an immune response akin to a cold or the flu every single time you eat. And so if you're eating 3 times a day and you're having an immune response 3 times a day, you're going to feel awful. And then weird things start happening with immune response. Everything from autoimmune disease to rashes, to eczema, to psoriasis, to chronic fatigue, to headaches, to joint pain. All of those are immune responses because your body is attacking stuff that it shouldn't be attacking.
Woo! Okay, wait. That is listen, I went from I have a vivid picture of everything you said. And you also reminded me that I almost failed anatomy in my first semester of college because I'm like, what? Well, I think gut, I think stomach, and you're like, you're the large test. I'm like, what? So like all that, so that was interesting. But that's really, really serious what you said. Like when you broke down the ones, I was touching my elbow, like, what? It's
Yeah,
thinner than that. Like it's almost like I better not eat anything that's not healthy because basically everything that I'm eating, although I think it's contained and goes straight down my throat, right out of my body, it
yeah.
right? And it like over time poisons other areas.
Exactly. Exactly. And what you just said is really interesting too. A lot of people who come to us as clients with either GI issues, kind of the typical gas, bloating, constipation, or chronic diarrhea, or they come to us with some of these other weird things, eczema, psoriasis, dark circles under their eyes, etc. A lot of times people say, "Well, I eat really healthy." And I'll say, yeah, I bet you do eat really healthy. But if you have gut permeability, it doesn't matter what you're eating. It doesn't really matter if you're eating kale or French fries. If that is leaking out of your body is going to create an immune reaction to kale. And so you can be eating super healthy and you can be eating super clean. But if you have a hole in your gut, your body is going to have this response. And so something that we talk to our clients a lot about, there's all of these food sensitivity tests out there on the market. My personal opinion is almost all of them, with one exception, are a complete waste of money. Um, but what a food sensitivity test tells us is it tells us that you have leaky gut. If you have sensitivities from an immune response to food, that is because your immune system has identified kale or strawberries or eggs or whatever it is as a foreign invader. Well, why would your body identify that as a foreign invader? Because you have leaky gut. And so typically what people do, and I've seen this, I don't know, probably 24 times, is people will do those food sensitivity tests. They'll remove all of those foods from their diet. And then they'll do another food sensitivity test a couple months later. And all the things that they're now eating, they're now sensitive to. Like they took all the things that they were sensitive to out. And now the things that they are eating, they're sensitive to again. Why? Because they have leaky gut. And so removing those foods is still just a band-aid. It doesn't actually address the root cause.
Whew. Okay. So I know that the nutritionist I went to gave me some supplements to take. Boom, boom, boom. You change your diet. I have felt better. Like I hate feeling that bloated feeling, like from bread or whatever. I hated that. So you take. So what's the best way to go about it then? Because I know I removed some food. You could feel the difference quickly.
Yep.
And she wanted me to take a food test too. I was like, I don't want to pay for that.
Yeah.
Like I'll just do this.
Yep.
But so what's the best way for the people listening, for the therapists that are listening, especially for themselves first, right? We need to take care of ourselves. And then also hopefully pass this along to our clients. But what's the best way to begin taking care of your gut then?
Totally.
Like, do we all call you? Like
yes, call me. Call me. So that's a great question. So you asked the best way to start taking care of your gut. I'm going to answer that in two different ways. I'm going to answer that like, how do we start taking care of our guts just today on, a random Wednesday? What do we do? And then I'm also going to answer that in terms of how do we heal our gut if we do have some of these underlying issues. So how do we start taking care of our gut? We start eating clean food that is organic. We start eating food that is both prebiotic and probiotic. So eating things like kefir and kimchi and sauerkraut, all great probiotic foods. But then we also need something to feed that good bacteria. So we need prebiotic foods like jicama and asparagus, etc. You do those three things, right? Eat clean, remove processed foods, herbicides and pesticides, and eat pre and probiotic foods, your gut health is going to improve. Now, the caveat to that is if you already have an underlying gut health issue, and this is where we see people who, they say like all the healthy things I feel horrible with. They eat broccoli and cauliflower and cabbage and they just feel like trash. That tells us that that tells us you have holes in your gut and something is wrong. So in that case, what we do is it's a 5-step process. So we call it the 5 R's of gut repair. The first is remove. The problem with that is that's where a lot of people stop. They remove a bunch of stuff and they're like, I'm good. Yeah. I like to say, if you have a giant gash on your arm, removing is like taking the knife out. Like that's a great first step. Let's stop. Let's stop causing damage. But just because we stop causing damage doesn't mean that we actually have solved the problem. So the first is repair. I'm sorry, the first is remove. The second is repair. So we actually need to repair that gut lining. And in order to do that, no one on the planet, no doctor, no nutritionist, nothing can actually make your body heal. We can just set your body up to heal. And so think about like back to that cut on your arm. What's the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put a Band-Aid over it. Why? To protect it. Does that Band-Aid make it heal? No, that Band-Aid doesn't make it heal, but it does protect it while it is healing. So first step is remove. Second step is repair. We need to repair that mucosal lining, which kind of acts like a Band-Aid in your gut in order to help your gut lining repair itself and heal. Then we need to re-inoculate. So re-inoculate is putting good bacteria back in. We need to rebalance, which might mean, rebalance is a really general term. That often means looking at sleep, looking at stress. People don't think about stress as causing gut health issues, but cortisol, which is your stress hormone, physically changes the makeup of your microbiome. And so it's like we need to rebalance your life. We need to get stress. We need to deal with sleep. We need to deal with relationships, et cetera. And then we're going to reintroduce. So all the things that you took out, we're going to reintroduce. And now you should have a healed gut. Those food sensitivities should be significantly diminished, if not gone altogether. And then we go back to what you asked in the first place. How do I take care of my gut every day? We eat clean food without processed sugar or flour. We eat, organic food, and we eat pre and probiotics.
Okay. Remove, repair, reinoculate, rebalance, reintroduce. Okay.
Yep.
And you're right. Most people start with remove, like I'm just going to have a salad,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't help anything
Yeah.
repair, like I have a whole bunch of supplements, which are in my bag. I'm sure when we stop recording, I'll be like, look,
Yes.
like, and it's hard. Listen, let's just be honest. It's easier said than done
Mm-hmm.
to remove the heavy whipping cream from the coffee, right? Or the
Yes.
4 pounds of sugar I used to put in there like years ago in my coffee. It's way easier when you drive home to stop and grab a cheeseburger than to go home and cook, right?
Amen. Mm-hmm.
And let me just tell myself, I'm following the plan nutritionist gave, but I'm going to eat a cheeseburger every now and again. I guess she'll have to yell at me in a couple weeks. BS me, but like it's like this is like you have to condition yourself to do it. But the
Yes.
benefit on the back end is so big. It's like, why wouldn't we just do it? So
Mm-hmm.
some of this, like Hally, like how much is just like therapists do in the office, right? We have to get a plan. We have to, help our clients to see okay, listen, where do you want to go? How do you get there? Walk it through. Like, do you feel like you're doing a lot of therapy in that office too? It seems like how do you convince somebody else to do it, to want to do it so they can get healthy?
Yeah, that is probably the most powerful question we should all be asking ourselves as practitioners. And so that's actually why I ended up getting the national board certification in health coaching, because what I realized as a practitioner is exactly what you just said. My ability to create like the perfect plan that's going to heal my client and blah 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 is only as good as their ability to implement it, right? Their ability to actually implement that plan on a Tuesday when they're driving home from work and it's late at night, that is the extent of my plan. And that's what we see in so many different offices. And so that behavior change piece is, 100 times more important than like the 5 R's being perfectly lined out. Because if I have a client who goes home and in order to heal their gut, they need to remove gluten, they need to remove dairy, they need to remove processed sugar, but all they have in their cabinet are Oreos and spaghetti, right? Like
Yeah.
most people who come to me are in their 20s or 30s. So you've got 20 to 30 years of life doing it one way. And now I'm telling you to do it a completely different way. And so it's that behavior change and that health coaching and walking people through the process and holding their hands and helping them learn how to read labels and helping them learn how to cook for themselves and learn how to operate and function in a completely new way that is so powerful. So, do we do therapy with our clients? I mean, no, because we're not licensed to, but do we talk through a lot of those things? Yes, we do, because that psychology of behavior change is probably more important than anything else. And that holds true for clients trying to lower their A1C. That holds true for clients trying to get rid of migraines. That holds true for clients trying to get pregnant. Like it's
Yeah.
all about lifestyle.
Yeah.
Going in network with insurance can be tough. I know when I took insurance, there were long wait times and it was so confusing. Filing all the right paperwork is time consuming and tedious. And even after you're done, it can take months to get credentialed and start seeing clients. That's why Alma makes it easy and financially rewarding to accept insurance. When you join their insurance program, you can get credentialed within 45 days and access enhanced reimbursement rates with major payers. They also handle all of the paperwork from eligibility checks to claims submissions and guarantee payment within 2 weeks of each appointment. Once you've joined Alma's insurance program, you can see clients in your state of licensure, regardless of where you're working from. It's amazing to know that you can be fully online. Learn more about building a thriving practice with Alma at helloalma.com/Joe. That's hello, ALMA.com/Joe to get started.
I remember going in the store afterwards, get dairy free, grain free. I was already pretty good on no sugar. I used to tear some ice cream up now. Let me just the whole time. But and that's the thing too, because I really felt like, yeah, I'm eating healthy. Like I already felt like you were saying a little bit ago, like, yeah, what are you talking about? I'll eat some asparagus and kale. I'm gonna go over and buy some fruit. But it's the
Totally.
other things too. And like you said, maybe it's the stress level,
Mhm.
right? Maybe it's not sleeping right. Um, but the other something else you mentioned before, I want to dive more into the behaviors and the benefits there. It's also just the cost.
Yeah.
It's way cheaper. I don't even know if they still do it. Like to go to Wendy's to get like a $5 grab bag. They may have inflation, maybe like $10 now. I don't know. But like, you know what I mean, and buy and buy like burger, fries, nugget, drink, as opposed to going to a healthy store. And the other day I went in there, I spent like $25. I'm looking like, where the money go? Like what? And it's like two, three things in my bag.
Yeah.
And it's like, goodness. But I know it's good for me. So I always think about, I was telling my friend not too long ago, like, man, what if I was a single mom with three kids? And how can I do this? How can I even make this dollar stretch to make sure that we're eating healthy? Because it's way cheaper, you know what I'm saying, to buy the big old pack of ground beef and we're just having burgers each night. Like,
Yep.
it's just a hard, that part like hurts my heart. Like, do
Mhm.
you ever find yourself in that space of, man, like, how do you help somebody with that angle?
Yeah, we find ourselves in that position quite often, especially with inflation that has become more and more our conversation. So the way that we tackle that with clients is twofold, maybe even threefold. So the first thing we talk about is helping them shift their mindset so that they really do understand that the choices that they're making today are going to affect the choices that they're going to have 5 or 10 years down the line. And so, choosing to eat organic food, choosing to eat more like less processed food, choosing to spend $20 at the grocery store instead of $5 at Wendy's is going to equal, a copay for your regular checkup or like $30,000 in cancer treatment down the road.
Woo!
Like that truly is the reality. And we, man, I love Amazon. I feel like Amazon has absolutely ruined our ability to be patient. Like we are such an instant gratification culture. If I
Yeah.
order something and it's not there the next day, I'm pissed off, right? And so, and so we as a culture have in a lot of ways lost the ability to think about, man, the choice that I make today will affect my life 30 years down the road, unless you're walking with people who are 50, 60, 70 and dealing with these health issues. Because usually those people have the wisdom to go, man, I wish I'd done something different in my 30s. You're like, yep, sure
Yeah.
enough. But that's a huge kind of psychological piece that we work with our clients to understand, is helping them understand that the choices that they make now to invest in their health is going to save them not only thousands of dollars down the road, but also years of their life. Like I tell all my clients, I have no interest in living till I'm 100, but I do have full interest in living life fully until I go home. Um, like I don't want to be 95 and unable to function, but I want to be 95 and able to function. That's really important to me. So that's the first thing that we do with kind of that cost piece is helping them switch their mindset. The second thing we do is we help them understand, how to make food affordable. So with that kind of like cheap food mindset, cheap processed food tends to be cheap, right? Like McDonald's, Wendy's, Cheetos, Doritos, whatever, you can fill up your stomach for not a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
When you switch and you start to look at healthy organic food and you start to get processed food, all of a sudden Ritz crackers are like $1.50, but gluten-free crackers are like $7.
Mm.
And so, yeah. And so when we start to make this shift, we have to start to understand that produce, meat, cheese, like real food that comes from the ground is actually fairly inexpensive. But, quote unquote, healthy processed food is astronomical. You can get gluten-free hamburger buns for like $8 a pack, or you can get regular hamburger buns for like 75 cents, right? So that next step is we have to learn that we're not going to walk down the processed food aisle and buy all these chips and crackers and cookies. We're going to go buy carrots and spinach and hummus. And we're not even going to buy hummus because that's processed. And man, the margins on hummus have to be ridiculous. It's like $6 and I could make that for 25 cents. Like, we're going to go buy garbanzo beans. We're going to go buy real food. So that's the second thing we do is we teach people how to make their dollar stretch. And then the third thing is, like the conversation between organic and non-organic. There's a great resource from the EWG called the Clean 15 and the Dirty 30, or I think it might be the Dirty Dozen now. And it tells you, these are foods that you absolutely need to buy organic because the pesticides that they use are more toxic than most, and you're not going to be able to wash the pesticides off. Versus these foods, you can get away with buying not organic because you can either wash them off or the pesticides aren't as severe. And so, like, learning those kinds of things to keep yourself within your budget, those are all ways that we help our clients with that.
I like that. So learn to buy organic, the foods especially that need to be organic, how to make food affordable for you, and then just a mindset shift.
Yep.
Because we can tell clients all day, and even for ourselves, the people that are listening, you know, um, how the benefit, but you have to want to do it. Like, again,
Mm-hmm.
like, what is your end goal? What are some things? So as we're sitting here and we're processing like the deeper issues, even if it is trauma, even if it is like just the heavier weight, the symptoms of depression, anxiety, what have you, it can be twofold too. We're treating, the pain point, but then we're also saying, listen, I need you to, the same way we say, hey, why don't you journal or why don't you go for a walk? Hey, you know what? Maybe you can also look at implementing a healthier diet,
Yep.
right? I know it was look good, feel good, but it may be like, listen, like improve that gut health, like
Yes.
feel better.
Yes.
Like,
Oh,
you
okay.
know,
I have a story that I have to tell you real quick because you just
sure.
talked about like
Yeah.
depression, anxiety. So depression and anxiety, we say at Live Nourished are more a gut issue than a brain issue. Obviously, there's like trauma and all these other things, but here's a really fun story just to put in your back pocket. So we had a client who actually came to us from a counselor, which was super cool. We have a couple kind of referral back and forth. Came to us from a counselor dealing with anxiety and depression, was making some progress with this counselor, but not a ton. Came to us and was like, what can I do? So we sort of looked at what's going on. She was super acidic and she had major leaky gut issues. And so the first thing I said is, would you be willing to cut out coffee just as an experiment? I don't need you to cut it out forever. I know. She had the exact same reaction. She was like, no, my coffee gets me through the day. And so I explained to her and I said, okay, here's why I'm asking you to do it. First of all, I'm asking you to do an experiment. Like, can you give me 5 days without coffee? She was like, oh, maybe. And I said, the coffee that you're drinking is super acidic. Disease thrives in an acid body. It does not thrive in an alkaline body. So in order to help you, we need to get your body more alkaline. Coffee is doing the absolute opposite. It's making you acidic. She's drinking, like a decent coffee from a roaster, but it's not mold free. Coffee and peanut butter are the two biggest offenders of mycotoxins or mold in your food. And mold crosses the blood-brain barrier. It's one of the only things that can. That's why mold is such a big issue. And so I said, I think the mold in your coffee might be contributing to your anxiety and depression. So we're acidic, which is already bad. That mold might be contributing. And then because you have some gut permeability issues, that coffee, which is so acidic, is just making that worse. And so anytime you drink coffee, we're accelerating the rate at which food is leaking out of your body. Would you be willing to consider taking it out? And hearing those things, she was like, okay, like I'll try. We'll see what we can do. And so just removing coffee, not doing like a crazy gut healing protocol, not getting her on organic food, nothing, just removing coffee for 5 days. Her counselor called me. We have a HIPAA release. Her counselor called me and was like, she came in like a different person.
Wow.
And I was like, And so she did that for 5 days. And now, she's like, I'm never drinking coffee again. Because she's been struggling with anxiety and depression. 5 days off of coffee made such a dramatic difference for her that she was like, oh my gosh, I feel like a human. So it's those little things that make such a difference.
That is huge.
Isn't that crazy?
That is huge. And that's the thing too. Like, sometimes you don't know what your thing is until you go to a professional that can tell you what your thing. So we can all guess. Like, I knew for myself, I'm out here eating a certain type of bread. I don't care if it is whole wheat and all these grains. And I just did not like how I felt. So like,
Yep.
let me chill on the bread. Right. So we can pinpoint some things, but sometimes you just don't know until you contact a professional who can tell you what's going on. And then you can see an immediate change. Not only do you feel better, those symptoms decrease.
Yep.
Right. So us as
Exactly.
therapists, like, what do you recommend? We're talking to a client. Like, obviously, we're not trained, just like you said, we're not trained therapists. We're not trained nutritionists, because I'm gonna be out here telling somebody the wrong stuff. You know what I mean? So
Totally.
how do you help lead somebody? Like, do they call you no matter what state they're in? Or like, what happens? Like, how can we best send our clients in the right direction?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, call me. We are a practice that is really intentional about making sure that people find the right people. So we have a 60 plus refer out list. So if you send clients to us and they start with us, if we are not the right fit for them, we will find the right fit for them. We really believe, and I know that you do too, that wellness is a multifaceted approach. So just like you said, like, I think nutrition is a part of the puzzle, but it's not the whole puzzle. Mental health is a part of the puzzle, but it's not a whole puzzle. So building that referral network and having a really strong, people that and trust as a practitioner to be able to refer your clients to, I think is brilliant. And then in that therapeutic environment, being able to have that conversation with your client lovingly and openly and honestly and say, hey, we're working through trauma and we're helping you heal the way that your mental space works, but I want you to know that your mind, body, spirit, and so what you're putting in your body and what you're doing with your body on a daily basis affects that. Are you open to having some conversations? Excuse me.
Okay.
Yeah, good. Are you open to having some conversations around how your lifestyle, how your food, how your movement might affect you? And even as a counselor who's not trained in nutrition, you can have a conversation about eating real food versus eating fast food. Like, that's an easy conversation. Hey, would you be willing to cook, a protein, a grain, and a vegetable for 5 days in a row instead of going to Wendy's, and just let me know how your mental health feels? Like, that's a great way to kind of support your clients within that therapeutic relationship without, putting yourself at risk for giving nutrition advice.
That's good. I like that. Hally, tell the listening audience how to find you, connect with you, follow you, all that stuff, stalk you for nutritional facts.
Yes, totally. So our website is the best place to connect. So www.livenourished.coaching, LIVENOURISHED coaching.com. That's the best place to have a client book a free consult with us. They're totally free. We want to get them to the right person, even if it's not us. That's also a great place to learn more. For practitioners, we're also on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, Hally Brooke -nourished is where you can find me. And that's a great place to connect professionally. And we can set up, referral systems and stuff like that.
Okay. And so you can see anybody across state lines. It's not like therapists only where you're licensed. You can go everywhere.
Yeah,
Okay. Awesome.
we can go across state lines, which is one of the coolest things about the National Board Certification for Health Coaches. It's the only certification, I think, in the country that lets us cross state lines. So we are legally allowed to work across state lines and internationally, which is pretty cool.
Good. I hope your phone blows up with a bunch of
Thank
people.
you. Me too.
What's the last thing that you want to leave the audience with, even the therapists themselves, and taking care of our own bodies, and before we pass it on? If you had to hit us with a one-liner, like a banger, no pressure, what would you say?
No pressure. That's a great one. I love that question. I would say, especially for therapists, because in a lot of ways, therapists, even if you work for a larger practice, you're still kind of a solopreneur. Like, your work depends on you being able to show up in the room. And so what I would leave you with is, you taking care of you is priority number one. If you are mentally unwell, if you are physically unwell, if you are tired, if you are dealing with, pain, anxiety, whatever, you are not going to be able to show up for your clients the way that you will be if you are taking care of yourself. And taking care of yourself is an ongoing process. So, especially for us in kind of the service industry where we care so much about our clients, flip that around and care just as much about yourself as you do about your clients, because you are only as good for your clients as you are good for yourself.
That was good.
Thanks.
I thought you were nervous at first. That was a great answer to that one-liner.
Thank you.
Holly, thank you so much for being the guest today. I appreciate you.
It was wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
What a great show. Thanks again to LaToya and Andrew for jumping in, doing these interviews, and just making the Practice the Practice podcast continue while I was having surgery and recovering from that. Could not have done it without the two of you. Thank you so much for doing that. And, we have a brand new course that's totally free for you. It's called 40 Days to Full, and it's really unique. It's texted to you. So each day you get a text from me about what you need to be working on to get full in your practice. And so it walks you through over 40 days exactly what you need to do. And all you have to do is text #40, so #40, to the phone number 231-422-0677 if you want to be in that 40 days to full. And each day you'll get day 1, day 2, day 3 sent to you. And also, we could not do this show without our amazing sponsors like Alma. Alma makes it so easy and financially rewarding to accept insurance. They get you credentialed in 45 days, and also you get enhanced reimbursement rates. If you want to learn more about building a thriving practice with Alma, head on over to helloalma.com/Joe. Again, that's helloalma.com/Joe to get started. Thank you so much for letting me into your ears and into your brain. Have an amazing day. I'll talk to you soon. Special thanks to the band Silence is Sexy for that intro music, and this podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, the producers, the publishers, or guests are rendering legal, accounting, clinical, or other professional information. If you want a professional, you should find one.